Have you ever been humiliated in front of your entire class? It was a regular Tuesday when I walked into my history class thinking it was just going to be another normal day. Little did I know everything was about to change. I've always been a quiet student, someone who preferred to stay under the radar focusing on my work without drawing too much attention to myself. History was one of my favorite subjects and I spent hours researching and preparing for assignments. However, this time I was paired with the class clown for a project. The project was about ancient Rome and I thought it would be a fun topic to explore. But my partner, let's call him Kyle, had a reputation for not taking things seriously. He was known for being loud, making jokes, and always being the center of attention. I wasn't sure how we'd manage to get this project done, but I did my part, diving deep into Roman architecture and preparing a thorough presentation. When the day of the presentation came, I was already feeling nervous. Speaking in front of the class was never easy for me. As I walked to the front of the room, I noticed Kyle hadn't shown up yet as usual. I started my presentation hoping everything would go smoothly. I clicked through my slides explaining the grandeur of Roman buildings and their history, but then I saw Kyle in the doorway, walking in late, making noise as he entered. "Sorry I'm late," Kyle said loudly with a smirk on his face. "I was just making sure Sarah didn't bore everyone with this Roman stuff." The class burst into laughter, and I felt a wave of humiliation wash over me. I tried to ignore his comment, but I couldn't help feeling exposed. Kyle continued to make sarcastic remarks, mocking my hard work and making jokes that had nothing to do with the project. The class laughed along and my heart sank. I couldn't understand why Kyle felt the need to undermine everything I had worked so hard on. But then something surprising happened. Mrs. Parker, our teacher, who was usually calm and reserved, stood up and addressed the class. "Kyle, that's enough. You've had your turn to joke around, but now it's Sarah's time to speak. Sit down." Kyle rolled his eyes, but to my relief, he sat down. I gathered my composure and finished the presentation, though my hands were shaking. By the time I wrapped up, I was exhausted, mentally and emotionally. The bell rang, signaling the end of class, but I couldn't shake off the feeling of embarrassment. I spent the rest of the day replaying the incident in my mind. I had worked so hard on this project and Kyle had made a joke of it. But then a fire ignited inside me. I was angry, but not just at him. I was angry at myself for not standing up for my work sooner. I had to do something about this. That evening, I sat down and wrote a letter to Mrs. Parker explaining how I felt about Kyle's behavior and how it had made me feel humiliated in front of the entire class. I wasn't sure what would happen after I sent it, but I knew I couldn't let this go. The next day, Mrs. Parker read my letter aloud to the class. She didn't mention my name, but she made it clear that Kyle's behavior was unacceptable. To my surprise, Kyle didn't make any jokes this time. He sat quietly and the class looked at him differently. For once, it was as if the attention had shifted from me to him. I had stood up for myself without saying a word and it felt empowering. From that moment on, I realized something important. I didn't have to let anyone's words or actions define my worth. I had worked hard on that project and I deserved to be treated with respect. I had learned that speaking up, even when it felt uncomfortable, could change the way people viewed me. How would you have reacted if you were in my shoes? Would you have stood up for yourself like I did?